Good afternoon, everyone. We are so excited to have you here with us today. We are honored to have this session on building bridges, not walls, enhancing family communication. We are also so excited that you're here with us today. We'd love for you to keep your cameras on if you're able, so we can see your faces, and keep yourself muted during the session so that we can hear everyone clearly. And it's my honor and privilege to introduce Dr. Sadia Dumas. She's an experienced educational leader with over 16 years at James Irwin Charter School, where she served as a principal and built strong partnerships for student success. She's passionate about supporting parents, coaching teachers, and empowering school leaders. She emphasizes love, humility, and growth in creating excellent educational and character building opportunities for every student. Families, please welcome me in joining or in bringing with us here today, Dr. Sadia Dumas. Thank you, Dr. Sadia.
Hello. Good afternoon. Yes, it's afternoon now. Let me see. I will see if I can share my screen here. All right. Can everyone see that? See the PowerPoint? Excellent. Okay, well, we will go ahead and get started. We are going to talk about bridges, not walls, for enhancing family communication. So the concepts that I'm coming from is from John Stewart. He has a book called Bridges, Not Walls, and then also from Jana Ellingwood, and she is with Anchor Light. And so that's where I got a lot of this information. So I'll make sure I give credit where credit is due. So when we are communicating, we want to make sure that we're building bridges. And that requires us to really slow down, really pay attention to what we're hearing, what we're saying, and focus on understanding rather than winning a conversation. So let's go to our first. Let me see. No, it is not moving. Let's see. Okay, there we go. All right, so our session goals today are to understand the foundations of interpersonal family communication, recognize behaviors that build connections versus building walls or barriers, and to leave with practical tools to enhance our family communication. So that's our goal today. And then our agenda today, we will first look at interpersonal communication basics, basically looking at the definitions, looking at the metaphor between bridges and walls, how do we implement it, and then we'll review some scenarios where you'll get to see a scenario and tell me and just share with the group how you would answer it. We'll have some reflection, talk about what your key takeaways are, and then questions and answers. All right, so let me move this so I can read my slide here. Okay, so what is interpersonal communication? Interpersonal communication is communication between people that creates meaning, relationships, and a shared understanding. And healthy family communication is characterized by honesty, openness, empathy, and respect. Everyone in the family, adults and kids alike, want to feel heard. They want their thoughts and their feelings to be valued, and they want to be able to share their feelings and then get their needs met. And that, I believe that that is the same with anyone that is having a communication. And so the key aspects to communication is that it is a two-way interaction and that it is influenced by perception, what we feel, what we have experienced, and our emotions. So our emotions can be different. If we're in a good mood, we may have one type of conversation. If we're in a bad mood, we might have a different kind of conversation. It might be the same topic, but we may address it differently based on the mood that we are in. So those are things that we want to keep in mind, and also that our communication shapes our relationships. Okay, so the idea of bridges, not walls. So when we have effective communication, we're going to build bridges. When we have poor communication, that creates walls. And our daily choices in the words that we say and our actions, even those nonverbal communications, that will determine whether we are building connections or whether we are creating distance between the people that we are talking to. Okay, so let's talk about what builds walls. So, behaviors that can damage a communication, the first one is judging. So, when we judge one another, oftentimes we are deciding what the person means, what their motivation is, even before we get into a conversation. Like sometimes we've already decided what this conversation is going to be about. Have you guys ever gone into a conversation and you're already at night going over that conversation and deciding, well, I'm going to say this, and then they're going to say that. And if they say that, then I'm going to say this. And then when they say that, I'm going to say this. I know I've done it. I've stayed up hours just creating a whole conversation that never happens that way. So just making those judgment calls ahead of time, prejudging how the conversation is going to go. Sometimes we may decide that a conversation is not going to go well, and then we get in that conversation and it's just fine. So that can damage our communications. Interrupting. This is one that I really have to work on because I get so excited to share what my thought is that I will cut someone off. So I know that about myself, and I know that that is something that I need to work on. But the message that it sends, and it's often unintentional. This is not the message we want to send, but it sends a message that what we have to say is more important than what the other person is saying. Even though for us, it just means I'm so excited to share this with you, but what it sounds like to the receiver is that you're not interested in what I'm saying. What you're saying is more important. And so making sure that we are not interrupting people when they are talking. The next one is defensiveness. So, defensiveness is anytime someone says something to us, we always have an answer. And so, we have to realize that we don't have to always give a reason or an excuse for what someone is concerned about. Sometimes we just have to let it be. For example, if someone hurts our feelings, or starting over. If we hurt someone's feelings, we don't always have to explain to them that it wasn't our intention or why we did what we did. Sometimes we just need to apologize and not become defensive about it. Because usually, when someone is sharing with us about something that offended them or something that hurt them, it's more about their feelings. And it's usually not something personal, but sometimes we can take it personal, especially when we think what they are saying is making a character decision about us. If we feel like, well, if you're saying this, if I said this to you and it hurt you, then that says something about my character. So oftentimes that's when we want to become defensive. So we want to make sure that we avoid that. And then if you guys have any questions, because I can kind of talk. So if you have questions, please let me know. Or if you have a comment, if you just want to share, because we're doing this together. I'm facilitating it, but we definitely want to all share together. The next one is ignoring perspectives. So everyone has a perspective, everyone has things that they bring to the table, and our perspectives are created by our culture, by our past hurts and traumas, from our experiences. So our perspectives are so different. And even when we come together in a family as parents, as children, we all still have our different perspectives that forms our beliefs, our ideas, our moral standards, all of those things. And so we want to make sure that we don't ignore someone else's perspective. one thing that may be okay for me might hurt someone else's feelings. And so I have to keep that in mind because I don't know what their background is. So if my parents had very high standards for me, they did not accept failure. I had to be perfect, then I may have a perspective that I need to be perfect. And so anytime you share something with me that says you're not perfect, that can be very devastating to me because I feel like I should be perfect because that's the background that I have. And so we want to make sure that we are aware of other people's perspective. One-way communication. When one person is dominating the conversation, like I kind of feel like I'm doing right now. So we want to make sure that we are not only sharing, but we also take intentional moments to pause and to allow the other person to share. The other is we have criticism, and that's just, when we're having those conversations and we say things that make people feel little or that make them feel that their thoughts or their actions are not valued. What are some of the phrases that might be criticism that may damage communication? So if anyone wants to come off mute, or you can put it in the chat if there's anything, any word, any phrases that are critical that can damage communication.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Right. That is definitely one. Yes.
In the chat, they have "you just don't care"
Mm,
and "to list faults first." "Oh, that's nothing." "I'm sorry you feel that way, but."
mm-hmm.
"You always" or "you never."
Yes.
"You don't understand." "You are wrong." "You'll never change." "You never listen."
Those are all excellent ones. And those are things that we may find ourselves saying. I love that. Thank you guys. Um, Another one is control. Sometimes we may want to control the conversation. Superiority, um, feeling like we know how to communicate, we know what's right when we come into the conversation already deciding that we are going to be right. And then that's the same, kind of the same thing as certainty. Like I come in it, I already know I'm right, and there's nothing that you're going to say to convince me that my perception is wrong. And so those are some of the things that can build some communication walls. Does anyone have anything else that would build a communication wall that I haven't named here?
Somebody put in the chat, "but anyway."
But anyway, yeah.
I told you so. I don't know how to actually write on here, to be honest with you. Um, yeah, there's one that says "I told you so," but I apologize. I'm trying to figure out where I can write in the chat.
So I think if you look at the bottom, I think it's two
Oh, here it is. I
like
got it.
bubbles. Yeah,
I got it. I'll mute myself now. Thank you.
you're welcome.
And it's
Okay.
okay to unmute yourself and talk. You can talk too. You don't just have to use the chat, right?
Okay.
Dr. Sadia,
Yeah.
like it's okay to just
Yeah.
unmute yourself. You don't
Oh,
have to
yes.
type it
And
in.
then I won't have a one-way conversation.
All right. Thank you. That sucks. Thank you, though.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. All right. So now we're going to talk about bridges. We'll talk more about bridges than we will about walls because that's what's more important, right? We want to make those bridges. So one way to to create bridges is active listening. That's the hard part, right? Well, I'll speak for myself. It's harder for me to listen than it is to talk. So other people, I know some people that are very, very good listeners. They are so good at listening until sometimes it makes me feel uncomfortable because they're so quiet while I'm talking. And I'm like, are we okay? But so active listening is very important. So when you're listening actively, you're giving the listener your full attention. So what that means is we're not having our own conversation in our head. We're not preparing what we're going to say instead of listening. I can say this with passion because these are the things that I have noticed about myself that I am very self-aware of. When someone's talking to me, sometimes I'll be already formulating how I'm going to answer. And then I don't hear them completely, and then my response is inappropriate. So the really, really giving them the full attention, really listening to what they have to say, and then using eye contact, even with your kids, making sure that you are giving them that eye contact. And then I'm going to scoop down to removing the power dynamics. So if we're talking to our kids, sometimes we don't realize, and this is something we talk about a lot in education, because oftentimes the kids are in their desk and we're standing up. So I don't think we realize the power dynamic that we give when we're standing over them, talking to them that makes them a little bit ill at ease. I think when you're helping them with their work, they get it. But when you're having a conversation with them about how they feel, something that's bothering them, or something like that, they really need you to come down to their level and really give them that eye contact so that you take that power dynamic so that they feel open to talk with you. And so just wanted to kind of come down and talk about that. And then also nonverbal communication. So I'm going to ask for a little interaction here as well. So active listening, some nonverbal communication, nodding, and then smiles. What are some other nonverbal communication that can build bridges?
Someone put hug,
Hug, yes.
smile,
Smile.
nodding your head, but they also said rolling eyes. So rolling eyes would
So, and
be
yeah, and I think that that's okay. We can talk about that too. Um, rolling rolling eyes would be one that would not build a bridge. So that would be one that we would want to try to avoid, which is very hard. How hard is it not to roll your eyes when you want to roll your eyes? It almost happens before you want it to. Um, but yeah, so we can talk about that too. And sometimes some non-verbal communication we want to avoid is crossing our arms. So before I was 49, I used to stay cold all the time. Now I'm hot all the time. But when I would be cold all the time, and so I would cross my arms to keep myself warm. But
mhm.
that is very off-putting when someone's talking to you. So, being open, having your arms, down or like in your lap and not being guarded. So those are some nonverbal communication things that can build bridges. And so it's hard to talk about what they should be without talking about what they shouldn't be. So I appreciate people bringing those in. Are there others?
Somebody said not turned away from speaker,
Yes.
sitting close, face to face,
Hmm.
not
Yeah.
bustling around and doing chores while talking, sitting down or standing still and facing them, and
Yeah.
then go
Go
ahead.
ahead. No, you go ahead.
Okay. Moving closer,
Hmm.
greet with a smile, being still, definitely a smile, eyes off phone.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a big one.
Mhm.
I struggle with that one. It's almost second nature to pick up our phones. Sometimes we have nervous habits And that's one for me. If I'm getting nervous in a conversation, I might pick up my phone to kind of distract myself. So, yeah, those are all good ones. And when you move closer, you're telling someone I'm open, I'm welcoming this communication. And so all of those are excellent. We talked about removing the power dynamics with children. We also want to do that with other adults. If we're talking to another adult about something, especially if we're talking to them about something we're not happy with, we want to be on the same level. We don't want to be standing over them because that can be unintentionally um, interpreted as aggressive or anything like that. It kind of puts the person ill at ease when you're standing up and they're sitting down. We talked about interrupting. So one good thing to do for active listening, it feels so strange, but it's to summarize and rephrase what the person is saying. So when they finish saying what they're saying, to ask them, so are you saying, do you mean XYZ? And it's kind of hard to ask that without it sounding snarky sometimes, but it's really important to summarize and make sure we understand. So even though this felt really strange to me, I have done this before and it's really helped me because when I have restated what I thought I heard someone saying, they would say, "Oh, no, that's not what I meant. I meant whatever, whatever, whatever." And then we get to have a different conversation. And so even though it can feel really weird, we want to just kind of practice what feels genuine to us when we want to restate what people are saying. Like, so are you saying when I call you this name, it makes you feel uncomfortable? Are you saying when when I don't let you play with your toys right before bed, it makes you feel like I don't want you to have fun. That type of thing. Just to make sure we understand what people are saying and it shows them that we're listening and that we really want to understand what they're saying. And also to ask open-ended questions. Sometimes we will ask yes or no questions, but it doesn't really get us to a full understanding. So we want to ask some open-ended questions. So instead of saying, does this make you angry? Where they can just say yes or no, we can say, what about this situation makes you angry? Okay, I think we have a question.
Yes.
Right.
Probably you're going to answer the question and I should have waited. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's fine. I love the communication.
I have a question. Do you have any tips to ask open questions? It's very hard for me, even though I tried and I focus and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. I ended up asking questions that are like,
Yes.
they are the opposite. So any tips?
So one thing that has helped me is to write my questions ahead of time. It's it's sometimes it can be hard to do when you're just in a spur of the moment conversation, but sometimes when you write some open-ended questions ahead of time, you can just read those and memorize them and you don't have to say it, word for word the way you wrote it down, but that way it's kind of in your brain so that when you're in those conversations, you can more easily retrieve those types of questions. And I've even practiced communication, like practiced a conversation. Like, what questions will I ask before I go into this conversation? Because usually when conversation breaks down is when we're having like a deep, serious conversation. And it's good to prepare for those conversations and say, okay, what are the open-ended questions I can ask? What do I really want to know? And so just having those questions written out before. And I've had people that have come to me that have wanted to say something that they really were passionate about. And they came to me with a piece of paper and they asked me and they said, "Are you okay that I wrote down what I wanted to say to you?" And I said, "That's excellent. Let's go through all of them." So it's nothing wrong with doing that and just having your questions already written down. Was that helpful? Okay. Are there any other questions that I may have missed? Okay.
Nothing on the chat.
Okay, so the next thing is validate their feelings. So when that's really hard is,
Excuse me.
oh, yes.
Sorry, I was trying to move away for me to talk. My question is, what tip could you give someone who always excited to talk when someone is talking to you? Like you just
Uh-oh.
quick to answer and you ended up interrupt the person.
Okay.
How
Can
how
you
you handle this?
can you can you please repeat your question? Because everything got frozen, so I didn't get
Okay.
to hear your question.
Sorry, can you hear me now
I can hear
clearly?
you now, yes.
Okay. My question is, my weakness, one of my weakness is quick to interrupt people when they are talking. And it's not because I'm not care, but it's because I'm so excited to share my thought. What tape? What 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 strategy? How can you help that while you're listening to someone, not quick to interrupt them? Thank
Okay.
you.
So there's a few things. There's some nonverbal cues that you can give yourself. And one is to fold your hands and put them down. That helps me to remember I'm listening. So if my hands are folded, I'm listening. It's not time for me to talk. I'm listening. Another thing which the writing helps me, if someone is talking to me and I have something that I really want to say, I'll write it down. So because sometimes the reason why I want to share is because I'm afraid I'm going to forget what I was going to say. So I will write down what I wanted to say. And then another thing is just catching yourself. Um, the more if you interrupt someone and then you say, "I'm so sorry, please continue." If you keep having to hear yourself say that, you'll be more aware of how often you're interrupting people, and then that will help you decrease the amount that you interrupt people. Does anyone else have any tips?
I don't really have a tip for that, but I wanted to ask another question that somebody had in the
Okay.
chat, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
Um, in regards to remove power dynamics, what else can you do besides getting down on their level physically?
That's a good question. So I think something to remove power dynamics other than getting close is to really ask them questions, to let them know that, I think validating their feelings, validating what they're saying also removes the power dynamics. I think asking them questions. So let's say you're having a conversation about bedtime and when bedtime can be, right? So we have a power dynamic as parents, right? Because we get to decide when bedtime is, right? But I think having a conversation and saying, well, what time do you feel like your bedtime should be? Allow them to give you reasons for why they want to change something. If they want to change their curfew, talk with them about that. Say, well, give me some good reasons for changing your curfew. How many hours of sleep would you get? And just engaging them in the conversation so that they feel like this is a conversation and not just I'm asking this and then I'm just going to get a quick yes or no. and avoiding saying because I said so. But sometimes you have to say that as a parent. Okay, any others? And if anyone else, other parents have tips on some of the questions, please feel free. Okay, are we ready? All right. Okay, so communication bridges two, using clear and concise communication, plan out what you will say, be specific, brief, direct, and use simple language. Excuse me. Sometimes we can use very long explanations for what we want to say, and it's better to think of a simple way, a short, simple way to say what we want to say. I'm trying not to get into some of my examples I have later, but let's say you don't feel that you're getting enough attention from your partner. Rather than saying things like, "You're never here, I never see you, what are you doing now?" and doing all of those things, say, "You know what? I need some more attention. When can we have some one-on-one time? I really need more attention from you." That's simple, it's direct, and it tells them exactly what you need without blaming or criticizing. And you're making it about you and about what you need, not about what they're not doing. Does anyone else have any examples for that?
Dr. Sadia, somebody
Yes.
in the chat said, oh shoot, it just went away here. I feel like you can remove power dynamic by never giving off, only speak if spoken to, allow
Oh,
communication at other people's convenience instead of your own.
yes, I love that. Yeah. By not that speak when spoken to, allowing them to speak and to talk and to start a conversation. I think that's very important because that, I was going to say that's old school. It is old school, but it can be new school too. The whole, speak when you're spoken to, you should be seen and not heard, that type of thing. I think kids should be able to speak when they need to, but they need to know when are the appropriate times, and that also goes with the interrupting. So if you're interrupting, then yes, you may want to wait, but then you can still say, "Sweetheart, I want to hear what you have to say, but let me finish talking to Miss Julie first." You know, or maybe ask, "Is what you're saying an emergency, or can you give me 2 minutes?" Something like that can also break up that power dynamic. I love that. Thank you, whoever mentioned that. That is great. So next is to make sure that the person understands you. That's again, you can ask them to restate what they heard. Say, "So what do you understand from what I just said?" Because sometimes maybe they didn't understand you. So that's an excellent way to be clear and concise and make sure everyone understands each other. The next one is to practice empathy. So put yourself in the other person's shoes. Again, we talked about experiences, culture, expectations, emotions. So we want to put ourselves in the other person's shoes because where we are strong in an area, another person may be weak. Where we can handle certain phrases, it may hurt someone else. So really making sure we're aware of who we're talking to and what things they're sensitive about, and be sensitive to those things. Set aside our own views and biases when we're talking, even with our families. This can also be used when we're talking to friends and at work. So these communication things can be used even outside of the family. Again, asking open-ended questions because that lets the person know, "I really want to know what you're feeling. I really want to know and hear what you're expressing to me right now." And then again, Validate their feelings, even if you don't agree. So we may not agree that they should have had their feelings hurt about that, but we can say, I can see that this is hurting your feelings. Let's talk about that. Rather than saying, why does that hurt your feelings? Or something like that. Someone said that earlier. So we want to validate feelings even if we don't agree, and that can be difficult, but it's worth it if we can regain that relationship. It's worth it if we can have good communication. Are there any thoughts or questions on this one? Okay. All right, so next, noticing other people's nonverbals. Nonverbal cues are 90% of communication. So we want to look at their communication, look at their nonverbal communication. What is their body position? Are they moving away from us? If they're moving away from us, they're creating distance. So what does that mean? It can mean a lot of different things. So we want to make sure we allow the other person to interpret themselves. They might turn away. We might see turning away as being rude and I'm disinterested and I don't want to hear what you're saying. They may be turning away because they are nervous or they are uncomfortable in the conversation and they may not want to look at you. So one thing, eye contact is so important. But one thing that I noticed with my kids and with other kids that I work with is when they get uncomfortable, they look down, they look away. And, and oftentimes we want to say, no, look at me, look at me, look at me in my eyes, and that type of thing. Let's have eye contact. But sometimes it's okay to let people talk to you when they're not looking at you, because sometimes they can share more freely when they don't feel the concentration of your gaze. So we want to make sure that we hear them out, even if their body language kind of changes, because we don't know why they're changing their body language. And we may want to ask them, but we really want to think about when to ask and when to just let it go. Because sometimes kids especially want to tell you things that have happened at home, at school, with friends. And sometimes the first thing they do is put their little head down. And we want to say, oh, look at me, sweetheart. And we want to look at them because we want to see their faces, but they feel more comfortable telling you if their eyes are down. So just paying attention to that. Paying attention to the tone of the voice. If the voice gets loud, sometimes voices get loud because they're passionate and not because they're angry. And so really thinking about what is the tone and the volume, what does that mean for each person? And then that can also give us cues that maybe we need to back off and have that conversation at a different time. And when we're not sure about the meaning of the nonverbals, then we can ask for clarification and just say, hey, do you need a break from this conversation? Do we need to come back to this later? If we see people starting to guard or turn away or anything like that. Any thoughts or questions on that part? Okay. No? Yes? Okay. So positive feedback, showing
I'm going to interrupt
appreciation.
you really
Oh,
quick.
yes, please do.
Somebody did end up having a question come up.
Okay.
She gave me permission to do this, so just know
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
not trying to be the bad model for everybody in this conversation of building bridges and walls. She said, what about eye contact when you are speaking as opposed to the child speaking or a child who generally avoids eye contact?
Yeah, I think that if it's a child because there are kids that just organically, they avoid eye contact. It's not comfortable for them, and it's not even something that they can really help. So there are some kids that just truly, they struggle with the eye contact. I think that you allow them to speak without eye contact when it's really difficult, when it's a hard subject, things like that. I think you can help them practice eye contact when it's an easy conversation, when it's something that that's good. Maybe have them practice that eye contact, but I think we really want to be mindful of when there are children that struggle with eye contact. And I think you practice it with the good conversations. Are we good? Okay. Does anyone have other thoughts on that? On the eye contact when kids struggle with the eye contact? Okay. All right. So the next one is positive feedback, showing appreciation. Be specific about what you value and what you appreciate about the other person, especially if they told you something that was difficult for them to say, making sure that they know that you appreciate that you took the time to share that they took the time to share that with you, especially if they struggle with that. And even with that child that struggles with, or adults that struggle with eye contact, when they do it, give them praise about it. Say, you know what? I'm so proud of you. You looked at me in my eyes the whole time we were talking. And then celebrate praise praise progress and not perfection in communication, and then celebrate achievements and give good feedback. Okay. All right.
There's a
So,
couple comments
oh yes,
here.
okay.
Somebody said it's a good reminder that it is okay to come back to a conversation if you or the other person needs a break, especially for heavy conversations. And then another
Absolutely.
one said, I have ADHD. Eye contact is awkward.
Yeah.
You know I am listening when I'm not looking at you and connecting the dots.
Yeah. And I think it's good to really share that with someone. If you're having a conversation and just saying, eye contact is hard for me, but I am listening to you. I am listening, I am taking it in, but eye contact is really hard for me. And just let them know that. So that way they have that understanding that, I need to lower my eyes right now. This is a hard conversation for me, but I am listening. And I think those are good things to say when you do have those struggle. And those people that are caring about that conversation, they are going to be open to that. I like that. I love bringing that in. That's great. Okay, so next, respectful disagreement, because we're all going to disagree with someone at some point, right? So we want to listen to understand and not to respond. Use I statements to explain your views without blaming the other person. Let me see. I think I had a note on that one. Maybe not. Okay. So using I statements, and that's like what I said before, was saying I feel this way without blaming the other person. I need more attention. I feel that we're not talking enough. I feel that we need to blah, 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 blah. Whatever that is, instead of saying, you do this, you never do this, you always do that. Make it about what we need from the other person rather than what they are or what they are doing or not doing. Stay calm, which can be hard, right? And stick to the issues and not the person, meaning don't make it personal. Don't start throwing criticisms and insulting things. Just staying calm and sticking to what is the issue, what is hurting me right now, and not making it a character flaw of the other person. Seek common ground. What are the things that we agree on in this situation and focus on those? Sometimes we have to agree to disagree. And then be open to I misspelled that. Be open to feedback. So someone may tell us something about ourselves that we know is true, but we may not like hearing it. We have to be open to the feedback and open to hearing how other people feel about things about ourselves, about the way we may say things, the way we may do things. We have to be open to that feedback, and rather than being defensive, we can ask them, what about my words or my actions make you believe this about me, rather than just going into defense mode right away. And then the last one is being willing to apologize, even to our kids. Sometimes as adults, we feel we shouldn't have to apologize. Sometimes we feel like we shouldn't apologize to other adults because, oh, they know I'm sorry. They know how I feel. You know, they know. They know what I meant. They know I didn't mean that. Well, maybe they didn't. And so we want to make sure we apologize. And it is very impactful when we will apologize to our kids. Like if we say something, like there have been times when my kids have done something, I'm upset about something else, and then I raise my voice. It doesn't belong to them. I'm upset about something else, and then I go back to them and I have to say, sweetheart, I did mean what I said. You do need to move here or do this or whatever, but I should not have used the tone that I used. That did not belong to you. I was not upset with you. I should have used a better tone. And so that helps them to communicate. And then it also shows them that we value them and we respect them as well. So, any questions on that? Okay. I know that we are getting really, really short on time. So, I'm going to try to go pretty quickly here. Hopefully, I don't go too fast. How we implement this, we can practice one skill per week. If we recognize something that we need to work on, don't try to work on it all at one time. Whole weekly family check-ins, even, have little family meetings when there's not an issue. And then you get to practice just regular conversation and not just having conversation when there is an issue. So this is something that I like to do. I have these little boxes. I don't know if you can see these. They are after dinner conversation starters. So I'll try to, I don't know. So that's one. That's one. That's one. So I will put these on the table, and sometimes we'll just do it random because it helps us to talk and communicate. And sometimes I will pick a card on purpose because it's something we need to talk about. And so that can help to have those conversations, um, modeling that behavior as a leader, as a parent. Use reminders and cues like the folding your hands when you're in listening mode. um or sometimes you can pass, like even just say, okay, whoever's holding the pencil, that's who's talking, something that simple. And then celebrating progress in communication. So I think we may have time for maybe okay, are we good? Do we need to stop now, Tanya?
No, no, no. I was trying to put the screen up, looking at the chats, and I accidentally hit that button.
Oh, okay, okay. So, but we are getting close to the time, but I just wanted to go through a few scenarios for active listening. So if your child says, "You never listen to me," what could you say? How could you respond?
Maybe you could say, I hear that you feel like I'm not listening to you. I'm here for you now. What would you like to say?
I love that. So this says, "I hear that you're feeling it ignored. Tell me more." Honestly, I like your answer better.
With my kiddos, I'll often say, okay, you feel like I'm not listening to you. What do you feel like I'm not listening to?
Oh yeah, that's good. I like that. I like that.
Someone in the chat, a couple of comments in the chat. What would let you know that I am listening?
Ooh. I like that.
And then, sorry, sweetie, I apologize. You have my full attention. Please start
Ooh.
over.
Oh, I love that. That's great. I like those. I like all of those answers better than what's on here. Let's see. You never help around the house. What could you say instead of saying you never help around the house?
I'll comment. So instead of saying you never help around the house, I love it when you are able to help me and be with me. Could you come and help me fold the clothes right now? Or I would like to spend time with you, right? Like encouraging them and then also giving them praise where they do because they do. It's just not up to our standards typically. That's the
Yeah.
problem, right? Like it's not the
Right.
thing never. It's just that one thing that you're like, why can't you ever pick up your toys or clothes or fill in the blank?
Yeah. Yep. So that one's kind of close. I feel
Somebody wanted
overwhelmed when oh, go ahead.
somebody wanted to suggest a good book,
Ooh,
Good
okay.
Inside by Dr. Becky Kennedy.
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna write that down too. Good inside.
Good Inside by Dr. Becky Kennedy.
Okay. All right. See. And the rest of this is mostly scenario. So just let me know, Tanya, when I need to stop.
Sorry, I have a little side conversation going on in my own house with my own children, so I apologize for that moment of distraction. Yeah, no, if you could summarize that for us so that they
Okay.
can definitely have time to do a survey, that would be fabulous.
Okay. So let me. Ooh, school is pointless. That's a good one, but I put the answer up there already. So it sounds like you're frustrated with school. That makes sense. What's going on? You know. And then argument about curfew. I think we talked about that earlier. Let's figure out a solution that works best. What feels fair for you? This one could probably be a long one, but it's something that we may want to think about. Let's say, oh, I've noticed you've been quiet. I'm here when you're ready to talk. Just letting them know you're ready, but not forcing them. Okay. So I would say maybe our reflection, knowing that we need to move quickly, is what is something that you can focus on this week in communication. These are the references where I got this from. And thank you guys. I enjoyed it. I get to learn from you guys as well. So I just appreciate all the time we get to share together.